And we're back with Mr. Eugene Platt, running for State House 115. We have a couple of questions we'd like to ask you, if you don't mind.
South Carolina State House.
Well, as if they didn't know. We'd like to go ahead and put you a little bit on the hot seat, but I specifically promised I would be very nice about this.
He's our political director. He's slightly to the right of the till of the Hun.
It's okay. It's all right.
He doesn't understand why Rush Limbaugh just can't commit.
I want to know. I just want to know what the man's platform is. I feel the best thing is information. Every voter should have as much as possible. So we've talked a little bit about local issues. I'm going to take it maybe to a little more national or a little more party level, if you don't mind. How do you feel about the job President Obama has done so far? Because this would be a good gauge for where you stand. You said you can't define yourself as liberal or conservative. You're more reasonable. I want to see which part of his agenda you agree with.
Which part you disagree with. I am running for the South Carolina legislature, not the U.S. Congress.
No, that's fine. I just want to know.
I've lived in Washington for 10 years. I love our nation's capital, but after the 10 years, I was very happy to come home.
Okay, no, me too. I know what you're talking about.
Absolutely, but the thing is, as the media and as exposure becomes, we get into more of a 24-hour news cycle, national politics becomes local politics.
Yeah. Well, to use a street phrase, we need to cut the president some slack. He inherited a mess. Mm-hmm. But
ironically, he said that same thing.
But still, many of us are disappointed that he has not followed through on certain promises he made. As a staunch environmentalist, for example, I was stunned, blindsided, when he announced that it opened the waters of the South Atlantic for offshore oil exploration. During the campaign, he assured us those waters remain sacrosanct, and especially after the disaster in the Gulf of Mexico, you can see why drilling for oil in deep waters is very unwise. The wars, I'm glad that we were disengaged in Iraq, but the leadership still does not seem to see the light with regard to Afghanistan. By the way, I'm talking now as a veteran who was ready to die for his country, but that was during the Cold War, and things are more clear-cut. In Afghanistan, it's not so clear-cut, and I really don't see the possibility of a victory there under any circumstances. Consider the old Soviet Union. They were there for a full decade with much shorter supply lines. Indeed, they were contiguous with Afghanistan. They finally had to retreat. And now we have supply lines stretching halfway around the world.
Yeah, but that's because we gave them Stinger missiles.
Yes.
That's what brought the Soviets down.
The Mujahideen said they only needed two things, the Quran and more Stinger missiles.
More Stinger missiles.
Okay. But you have to wonder, why is it that a large part of the world hates us, wants to come over here and destroy our skyscrapers and blow up our airline? Why is that? We need to ask ourselves why. I would suggest that maybe we have not been doing something right.
Okay. Well, that's if that's the position on that, that's fine. I have a couple of pieces of the Green Party platform I wanted to ask you about. The Green Party platform specifically stresses social justice quite a bit, and one of the major factors is universal health care. Universal health care has been characterized by the right as a wealth redistribution policy, and it's been characterized by the left as a necessity. And to quote the Green Party platform, it said, "We're the only industrialized nation without a universal health care system."
That is true.
And I know it's true.
Yeah. For your next vacation, I highly recommend Canada. And look around. You'll see one of the healthiest populaces in the world, and they have universal health care. Again, as you mentioned, most of the industrialized democracies have had it, and we're the only one who does not have it. It's just an anomaly. We're so advanced in other areas. I'll never forget the experience I had many years ago with my wife. We were traveling in Spain, and she had a kidney stone, and we got off the train at an unscheduled stop at a little town, and I hailed a taxi driver. My Spanish is limited, but I knew to say urgencia, urgencia, and he rushed the three of us to a local hospital, and they treated my wife for the kidney stone. And my infant, by the way, I was not too adept. Maybe I was distracted. Well, I changed the diaper, but the baby needed the diaper change, and nurses changed the diaper. Anyhow, a little later, the wife comes out, and she's stabilized, and I take out my wallet and ready to pay, and they look at me strange, and then they remember, oh yes, he's American, he doesn't understand. But Spain, they had universal health care. You know, if you're sick, you're injured, you go to a hospital or clinic and you get treatment. That's just, you know, a given.
No, that's
and you know, let me tie that in with faith. You know, the Lord, he healed everyone who came to him, and no questions asked.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, that's a biblical example of the platform you're looking to pursue, and that's fine. Ecological wisdom is one of the platforms for the Green Party. Now, with regard to ecological wisdom, right? You're proposing installing light rail or commuter rail from Somerville to downtown, presumably to help free up the traffic, and by extension reduce the carbon footprint of the Charleston area. Are you a supporter of cap and trade legislation? Are you a supporter of locally, and more specifically, I guess the quickest way to come down on this is, where is your stand on the whole climate change issue? Do you feel that climate change has been something that has been politicized, or do you feel that it's a very real threat, something we need to take into account both locally and nationally?
Climate change is a fact, and if you don't believe it, you were not here in the Low Country this past summer.
Oh, I was here. My AC went out.
Well,
the climate changed in my house.
It was hot and it was humid.
Yes, the climate changed.
I'm going, my God, what's this all about?
The climate changed in my house quite a bit, sir. We ran out of AC. I real quick.
I'm sorry, I got to take. I had to make a joke there. Go ahead.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, well, the evidence is irrefutable.
Mm.
You know, there, unless you want to believe that the photos were doctored of the shrinking ice caps and glaciers and all, you know, the evidence is pretty well established.
People are going to throw East Anglia University up in your face. They did doctor their stuff. They're going to throw that in your face.
Yes.
How do you
But
deal
that's
with
just
that?
a few. That's just like 2 out of how many other studies that have
That
been
they've
done?
caught.
That's right.
The problem is, the thing is that they've caught, and East Anglia was a leader in this field.
They were.
I'm
considered a
not
resource.
saying there hasn't been global warming. I'm just saying that you cannot necessarily trust the things you're being told, because I think it's an issue that is being driven more by the politics than the science.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the science is wrong. I'm just saying it's being driven by that.
But that was an anomaly, I think, in the
Let's hope.
report that they just got carried away. But I think most responsible people recognize the reality of global warming, and will ignore it at all in peril.
Okay. All right. How much time do we have, Jonathan?
You got about 40 seconds.
Okay. Well then, Mr. Platt, I'll go ahead and let you take this one out then. That way, I'll just
Let Mr. Platt just
because I don't
have
have
his
I have
final
other
say.
questions,
Well,
but they would not be
40
I
seconds?
can-
You have 40 seconds.
Well, I would just invite
Pretend you're
people
on TV.
to visit my website, which is here in the brochure. Very easy to remember, www.voteplatt.com. Vote as an election, voteplatt.com. And even if you don't like my political positions, on the home page of the website, click on the poetry. I bet that at least one of the poems will touch your heart.
Well, I have to tell you, Mr. Platt, here on Colbertradio.com, we do not endorse candidates. But I have to tell you right now, if you win and wind up being my representative, at least I'm going to know that an honorable man is sitting up in Columbia for me. And I want to thank you very much for agreeing to be on Colbertradio.com.
And it's been wonderful, and we'll
It's
go
been
ahead.
wonderful. You're
This
a great
Colbertradio.com. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back. Colbertradio.com. Yep.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, too bad we didn't talk about